How did you apply to YC? You weren't a US citizen then,
I wasn't, no.
but then you were not.
Yes.
Okay. What was your visa status when you applied?
I was on an H-1B visa. I used to work at a company called Pop Sugar here in the Bay Area.
And do you want to define an H-1B for the audience?
H-1B is an employer-sponsored visa for folks who have higher education and they can work for that employer for a certain period of time. An H-1B visa is 6 years maximum, given at maximum 3 years at a time, that is tied to the employer.
You have to have an employee sponsoring you. That's the key thing. So how did you apply to Y Combinator if your employer is a sponsor and you want to start a company that doesn't exist and by definition they can't sponsor you? How does that work?
Here's what I did. And I always share these stories with the disclaimer that do not try this at home. Talk to your lawyer, figure out what's the right thing for you. But even if you're on H-1B, you can actually own stock in company. I can invest in public markets, I can invest in private companies, so on and so forth. I cannot be paid as if I'm working at a full-time job or in any consultative and employment capacity in these types of investments. So for example, I can buy Microsoft shares. It's still fine, even though I may earn dividends and stuff like that, even though I'm fully employed by someone else. Now, I had registered the company, so I can register a company on H-1B. I cannot get paid for that company.
By the company that you registered?
Yeah, you cannot.
You cannot get paid by the company that you formed?
That company has to really sponsor you.
Got it. So when you created a startup, so you're applying to Y Combinator, did you have a company formed or no?
Yes, I had a company formed at the time. I had my co-founder and I, we were also roommates at Columbia, and we had the company formed. We had certain things going, but we were not getting paid by the company at all.
So did you lose your H-1B because you're no longer going to be employed by your prior sponsor?
Yeah, again, it was a super risky move. In hindsight, it worked out, so it's fine. But at the time, so we applied to YC. We were still working full time in our respective jobs and doing these at side projects and whatnot, and applied to YC. YC doesn't ask about my visa status. So they didn't ask, and they said, we'd be happy to take you. That's a story by itself. We got the acceptance, and now we have to figure out how are we going to stay in the country. So we got the acceptance in November.
You have funds in the bank. Now you're leaving your employer. You're committed to Y Combinator to start this company. You're going to lose your visa by definition.
I did, yeah. I had to give up my H-1B because YC requires you to work full time on your startup when you join them.
And did you disclose that risk to YC?
Yeah, YC was like, just go figure it out.
They just said, figure it out.
Yeah,
You're an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are solving problems.
right.
Which is a good answer.
Yeah,
Figure it out.
and we did. Funnily enough, which it's more common now, but back in 2016, we didn't know about this visa at the time called O1 visa, which is quote unquote alien of extraordinary ability, which is meant for scientists, movie stars, musicians, artists, so on and so forth. So if you want to be in the US, but you have achieved something great, US wants to have you here. And it's still employer sponsored visa, but it doesn't have a lot of restrictions that H-1B has. So for H-1B, you need to have like enough money in the account. Your company needs to be of enough size, so on and so forth. I cannot start a company, put $1 million in there and just start hiring H-1B folks. So we applied for O1 and we had 60 days to figure it out. And luckily enough, we got the O1 within a few days of application. And it was a very uncertain, long 60 days. But I think we got it in total between application and approval within 35 days. Sponsored by Stilt, which was our company. So now we could continue to work for our company, pay ourselves very little, and then we'll figure it out.
Wow, that's incredible. A lot of courage there. You jumped from one vine to another vine and you made it work.